Today we have something a little different for you. Check out this Encore episode that we think you will enjoy.
You're listening to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast. Did you know that you could build a tax-free pool of wealth that's liquid and accessible all your life while building your retirement nest egg? Gain full control of your financial future and stop relying on the government and banks. The wealthy have already discovered this wealth-building secret. Now it's your turn to get financially secure without following the conventional wisdom that keeps you in debt to banks. Now here's your host, Valerie LaRocque.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast. Thank you so much for listening in. Today, I thought we would go over the very common question of how much money do I need to start infinite banking? How much money do I really need? Do I need to have a lump sum? Can I start paying monthly, or do I need to have something to start off annually? How can I fund that premium in a way that works for me and my budget and my family? So the question a lot of times is focused on how much money do I need to have to start this thing, and how low can I go or how high can I go? Well, first of all, once a person truly understands and has done the learning behind this, usually they're trying to fund it as high as they possibly can, which we still want to be within your budget and something that makes sense. But the question really isn't how much do I need to start? How much do I need to start? The question is, how much do you want to have? How large of a pool of cash do you want to have for your future needs? How large of a pool of cash do you want to have from which you can finance the things that you need, or to be able to pay off large debts, or to be able to finance your next vehicle or your next real estate investment? How large of a pool of cash do you want? How large of a pool of cash are you going to need for those things? And how much do you want to have towards your retirement? Would you want a lot of money for your retirement years, or do you want to have a lower amount? And it depends, of course. I'm sure you have other things that you're doing, if you have other savings elsewhere for your retirement income, but certainly this is a place where you can get retirement income. And so how much cash do you want to have access to in your retirement years? The lower that you are funding your system, well, the less you're going to have when you get to your older years, the less you're going to have snowballing and accumulating for you. The more you fund, the more you're going to have, the larger your pool of cash for your retirement years. And so how large of a pool of cash do you want to be able to access in your retirement years that you can access income tax-free? You're going to want to access to less income tax-free dollars or more income tax-free dollars. So that's really what it comes down to. It's very simplistic sounding, but the more you put in, the more you're going to have, the more you can do something with, the more investments you can finance through your system, the more you can take over big debts. Even if for some reason taking over a mortgage, a rental property mortgage, your home mortgage, a vacation house mortgage, well, you're going to need to have significant funds in there to be able to do that. And so you might want to fund it higher. Sometimes people want to know how low they can fund. I think that they probably need to do some more learning if they're trying to fund as low as possible. But the amount you want to fund is basically almost all the way up to you. There are some constraints, like you can't go too low on the death benefit. There is a minimum death benefit, but it is pretty low. There's also a maximum death benefit. If you really want to go and fund it really super high, there's going to be a maximum on your insurability as well. But generally, you can pretty much just state how much you want to fund into your contract. Of course, there is also the constraint of the underwriters will take a look at your income and say, how much of your income are you putting into this policy, and does it make sense? Since the underwriters are looking at the life insurance policy as just life insurance, they're not really considering all the things you want to do with it. But my opinion, what I think about funding too low, I just think that you're losing time, because sometimes people, they just aren't sure how they want to begin. So they start with something on the lower end, and then it takes maybe a few years before they want to build that up or start a second policy or a policy on another family member. But really what they've lost is the time, because starting 2 or 3 years out, that isn't really, you feel like, well, that's just affecting me now. I've just got to save this money for this next 2 or 3 years. I didn't put it in. But really the effect is at the end, when you're in your 80s and you're in your 70s, because you lost 2 or 3 years of that money compounding and earning for you and earning those dividends and growing and snowballing. And so it's a big difference at the end when you're in your older years. It's waiting 2 or 3 years to fund at the level that you would like or the level that you think you could. It's going to hit hard at the end. You're going to end up losing a lot more money than you thought just by waiting those few years because you've lost all that time to grow that wealth. And the thing is with whole life is that there's nothing tricky about it, nothing complicated. It's not volatile like the stock market. It's just a very solid financial product that has been around for over 200 years. It may not be as exciting as what else is out there for investing in the stock market and Bitcoin and all these things, but it is stable and solid, and it's been around for a very long time. And so it's trustworthy. And that's why I house all of our savings dollars in our life insurance policies. We put all of the savings dollars there. We do, of course, have a bank account, but that's where we house the funds. And then if there's some need or some other investment that we want to contribute to, we will run it through and we'll pull it out there. But it all goes there first because I want to capture the earning power of as many dollars as I possibly can before they are spent elsewhere. Another way to look at it is if you had a brick and mortar bank location, if you had an actual bank, if you were an owner of that bank, how much of your money would you keep at that bank? How much of your money would you run through your own brick and mortar bank? Would you house your money at Chase Bank or Bank of America if you had your own bank? You probably would house your money with your own bank, or at least I would hope so. It's similar with this. This is your own banking system. You're going to want to house as much of your dollars here as you can before deploying them somewhere else. So again, with the question of how much do I need to get started, it's really almost whatever you want. But the question really should be, how large of a pool of cash do you want to grow? How large of a pool of cash do you want to grow on a guaranteed basis that you can access tax-free all your life? How large do you want that pool to be able to utilize for things that you want or need or debts that you want to pay off? Do you want a small pool or a large pool? And that's going to be determined a lot by how much you're funding your contract. The more premium dollars you're funding into your contract, the larger your banking system is going to be over time. And this is a guaranteed stable place to have funds that you can use for whatever you need in your life. And if you have those other funds that you have saved somewhere else that are volatile in the market, at least you have something safe that you can count on that will be there when you need it. Really, controlling the banking function in your life is really one of the most powerful things that you can do. As Nelson says in his book, how much of the banking function do you control as it relates to your needs? And how much you're able to control really depends on how well you are treating yourself like an honest banker. I'm going to read one small paragraph in the introduction section of Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash, because I think it pertains to this topic. And he says, this book demonstrates that your need for finance during your lifetime is much greater than your need for protection. Solve for this need through this instrument, and you will end up with more life insurance than the companies will issue on you. Most everyone is familiar with the fact that one can borrow from a whole life policy, but because of how little premiums they pay, there is limited access to money to finance major items needed during a lifetime. Yet the need for financing for the typical person is extensive. Really, all this book adds to the equation is scale. He's just teaching you through his own experiences how adding more to your life insurance contract will allow you to finance more. And he's explaining it through his own life experiences, and it explains it really well. It helps you to understand why would you want to fund a life insurance contract as high as possible. As Nelson would always say, if you understand the problem, then you'll know what to do. And one other thing I just wanted to touch on really briefly is the question sometimes people ask me, do I have to have a lump sum to begin the process? No, you do not. If you do have a lump sum, we can utilize that in different ways. But otherwise, you are also able to just start monthly. So that's really all I have for you today. I look forward to talking with you or sharing with you again next week. As always, if you would like my help, if you would like to partner with me to create something awesome for you and your family's future, I would love to chat, learn more about you, and become your IBC coach. So if you would like to partner, please reach out at valerie@alphaomegawealth.com. Thank you again so much for listening. Until next week, I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care.
This is the podcastfactory.com.